Hi everyone, today I thought I'd share with you 10 tips for teachers, not just English teachers either, but teachers of any subject and with any amount of experience. So let's go. Number one, flounder intelligently. So you may have heard that from Guy Claxton, and it's brilliant for teachers because we do flounder along because there is so much to do, so many varied things to do, so little time and so much pressure. So we do flounder. So I like the idea of thinking it's okay to flounder. So that's cool. And obviously intelligently think it through. I like to say flounder courageously, because I think it's about not freaking out when there are changes and things. Which brings me to my next point. When you have changes, so in New Zealand at the moment there are a lot of curriculum changes, achievement standard changes and so on, you've got to play with that stuff rather than worrying about it, freaking out about it. Just go, okay, so look at achievement standards, for example. What does this look like? Oh, I'll try and write a resource for that then, and like an assessment kind of resource, and we'll see how it goes. And then you've got to do it yourself. You've actually got to sit the assessment. You've actually got to do the thing, be the student, because that throws up a whole lot of issues that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise. If you were really dead keen, you could get in your faculty going something where you are writing and you are sitting your own assessments, but then you mark each other's as well, just to see again those little things that can get thrown up. Hopefully you'll all get excellent. But I just cannot emphasize enough, just play with the stuff, and that's how you get to know these things rather than freaking out and thinking you don't know what it's all about. Number three, use your classroom as a tool. I always had this wall over here with figurative language devices, and then beside that sound devices, and then over here was the structure wall with sentence structures and so on. Here's obviously notices and things. Back here is information about our program and so on. So when you are teaching, you can say, oh, remember this is our how to develop our thinking poster. Refer to it over there. You need to add details to your writing. Look at that poster. Right, where's your figurative language? Remember the poster over here, and so on. So use your classroom as a tool. It just makes life so much easier for you and for your students. Number four, create your own diary or plan book, because the ones that are commercially made never work. You always have to sort of fiddle around with them, I find anyway, or take half of one, half of the other. So just create it yourself and make it so that it works for you. You've got something that works for you. Number five, looking at my list here, yeah, I've said this before, don't expect the best from your students. And because I think that is the wokest blimmin' phrase. There is a difference between expecting the best, like you expect to win lotto, and insisting on the best. So that could be your new mantra. I insist on the best. And actually when you say it to yourself, and you know, when you're in your classroom, it's like, actually no, kids, we need to have another look at this. Okay, so don't expect the best, insist on the best. Number six, use checkpoints to help your students manage your time. So if you've got a large assignment for them to get through, break it up, chunk it up, and say, you know, by this date you need to be here, by this date you need to be here, and so on, and here's your draft and here's your final. It helps them manage their time. You can put those times on the whiteboard if you like, or within your task booklet like I do. But the other thing with the checkpoints is that it helps you manage that question of authenticity. So where you've got pre kind of activities to do on an assessment or in an activity, and the student hasn't done that, then there's a red flag, right? Where's your draft? You didn't hand in a draft for feedback. Big red flag, and suddenly you've got this amazing final. Okay, so it's just one way that students know you're watching every step. And I don't mean that from a big brother point of view either, only a little bit, but also, you know, you are tracking how they are going with that assessment or activity. So it's like so many benefits to adding checkpoints into an activity. Number 7, teach your students to manage their Google or their digital documents. One thing I hate about Google Classroom is that it's made the students not lazy, but they don't have to manage digital documents. So you mentioned the idea of sticking files in a folder and they look at you blankly. There's no concept of actually organising their files. And so how many times have you ever, and you know, this would be an interesting activity, ask them to go into their Google Drive. They probably won't know what it is. Google Drive is where all their files sit, and have a look. You'll see untitled doc, untitled doc, untitled doc. They are just creating docs and not giving them file names, let alone putting them in a folder. So that's one reason I hate Google Classroom, probably the only reason I hate Google Classroom is because it means that kids don't have to manage their own work. I love things like Google Classroom because to post information up about the course and resources that they need, that's great. But when it comes to producing their own work, I prefer to create folders and send them to the kids so that I own the folders, and then they put their work into those folders. But then I also encourage them, hey, why don't you create a folder for maths stuff, science stuff, and so on. And they're like, wow, I didn't know there was a Google Drive. I didn't know we could organise folders. Okay, so I think that's part of what we need to be teaching in school, rather than doing everything for them. So that's something that I would like to see happen in schools anyway, students managing their own digital documents. So with that in mind, get exercise books going as well. Best thing you can do for literacy, and then mark them so they date, they put the title of whatever they're working on, they write the teacher's notes from the board or the PowerPoint, good old-fashioned stuff, because that's how you remember it. That's one way of remembering it, and also they can refer to it later on. And then they do their activities, and then every now and again you mark those books. And remember, I've said this before, if you stick a 6 pages ahead or whatever, and then when the student hits that sticker, they hand their book in for marking, you only have a few to go through. Okay, and just check. And it goes back to that other tip that I said about insisting on the best. You're like, oh, actually, you don't have a full stop for the last 3 days. Okay, am I going to let that go? Because if I am, then I'm saying it's okay. That's not insisting on the best. Okay, I'm a bit on my soapbox here. Number 9, use PowerPoint or Google Slides if you like, to create your resources. All you do is you go up to the Design tab and you resize the slide as an A4 page. Now you can put text and images anywhere you like on the page, and it is so much easier to do everything. So PowerPoint or slides, PowerPoint is far superior when it comes to creating resources. And number 10, start your year maybe, or throughout the year, give the students the key vocabulary that they need and get them to rote learn it. Like give them 10 minutes on a Friday to, rote learn these 4. Okay, because sometimes some things need rote learning, and if students know that stuff, then life is going to be so much easier. So for example, in English, if they don't know what a metaphor is and they've never actually taken the time to learn it, because nobody said, nah, you need to remember this now, then life is going to be a struggle throughout the years because they still don't know what a metaphor is. It doesn't matter how many activities they do in it, it's not going to sink in until they rote learn it. So key vocabulary, so science, maths, any subject, get them to rote learn it. Give it to them in groups as well. So unit groups or topic groups. So for English, it'll be all the figurative language together, sentence structures together, sound devices together, not alphabetized lists, because that doesn't make sense to them. It doesn't fit with your units and your topics. So give it to them in groups and get them to rote learn it. What a grumpy post this was. It was supposed to be a happy post and I got all grumpy. Sorry, but I hope that some of those tips will help you. See ya.